Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Shawn and I are here again, and this time we're joined by a very special guest, Scott Danielson, who's back to BookTube after a hiatus.
A hiatus, that's right. After a very busy year, I can tell you that. Yeah, it's been crazy, but good. Yeah. So, but yeah, happy to be back.
And you put up a video.
I've been looking around all the time, anyway.
You put up a video yesterday, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to tell people what it's about, and they can head over and watch it after this?
Yeah. So I started a year ago. I started this series. I was just calling it A Few Books, and then A Few Books, and then I started to focus on genres, subgenres actually within science fiction and fantasy. And I was going to go into horror and all that stuff. Just having fun. And so this one I talked about alternate history, and I just brought 3 examples of alternate history novels. The 3 I brought were Pavon by Keith Roberts. Then I brought In the Balance by Harry Turtledove, which is the first of a series called World War. And then I brought what I think is a fairly unique one called When Angels Wept by Eric G. Swedien. And I loved that one. It's an alternate history of the Cuban Missile Crisis, written as a history book.
Okay. Well,
not as a novel. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, a history book written by a fictional character.
Yeah, that one sounded interesting. I'd not heard of that one. The other I have, and you said you wanted to read Pavine or Pavine, I guess. Again, did you have any time frame that you were going to?
Yeah, I'm going to start it immediately. Yeah, I'll read it here within the next week or 2. So
it doesn't look particularly big, though. So
no, it's not. 250 pages or so.
So
and it's a fix-up novel. A fix-up novel being it's 5 or 6 stories set in this universe. I don't know if I don't recall if they were published separately, but regardless, like the Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, that's a bunch of short stories collected with a framing story. They call those fix-up novels in the genre. So
that's A.E. Van Vogt's fault for the title. If they have any problems with it, go see him.
Yeah, sounds good.
Not Simak then.
No.
Yeah.
Before we go on, Gerald, I just want to ask you a question. I received a comment from you, and I replied, and you replied back, and it disappeared. I don't mind if you deleted it. I was just curious because it's weird how sometimes on YouTube they absolutely vanish. So I was about to reply, and it wasn't there anymore. But yeah, just let me know if you don't mind. It's so weird, sometimes people do that. They leave comments, and then it's gone, and they haven't deleted it. It's just YouTube decides or whatever to make it disappear, and it's very confusing. So
yeah, I don't know why that happens either. I've noticed that too.
Very odd.
Yeah.
So
very strange.
Shawn.
Yeah. Well, one of your was it last year's or the last one you did of the few books is the Alien Archaeology. So
yeah, that was episode 3, and then a year later episode 4, and I hope to do more than one a year. But yeah, Alien Archaeology. Let's see. I would have talked about Jack McDevitt for sure, who's writes a really nice series of science fiction novels about a crew that basically goes around and to alien archaeological sites. Trying to remember the name of the first one. It wouldn't have been Deep Six. Deep Six was number 2. The Engines of God, I think, is what it was. The Engines of God is book 1. And then At the Mountains of Madness by Lovecraft. That's one I really enjoy that. I was really hoping that Guillermo del Toro would get a movie made of that. I'm still hoping to see that. I know he was trying, but he just hasn't got money to do that. And then what else would I have done? Oh, I think I did Rendezvous with Rama by Clark.
And Gateway.
Gateway, right. Gateway was cool too. Yeah. Gateway, there's an asteroid. I love the premise of that book, so there in one of the asteroids in the asteroid belt has a bunch of ships in it from some alien culture, the Hichi, right? And people would go on there and they would these ships are all programmed to go somewhere in space, but nobody knows where. So it's kind of a lottery, and a person would basically be buying a lottery ticket and take this ship to wherever it goes. And sometimes it's to their immediate death, and sometimes it's to some grand civilization that used to be there, full of artifacts that are worth fortunes.
Yeah, Russian roulette with ships.
Yep, with ships. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole series of those, and I know I haven't read the last one, and I possibly the last two, but I definitely would love to join you in revisiting alien archaeology at some point.
Great. Yeah, love it.
Definitely. Either, go. Technically, you could go through all of Rendezvous with Rama books and all the Ichi ones, I suppose, but maybe something different even. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts out there. If you're interested.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some more. Right. Yeah. Same with alternate history. I love hearing. I think Jason Harrigan mentioned in the comments a book called SSGB by Len Dayton, as a example of alternate history. And then, of course, The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick.
Well, there's a whole series by, I think it's Mark Hodder, that does their sort of Sir Richard Francis Burton and Charles Algernon Swinburne. And instead of the Elizabeth assassination, it was somebody trying to assassinate Queen Victoria.
Oh, okay.
They're steampunk. So it's alternate, but they're set in the 1800s.
Oh, and, cool.
There's also this search for the Nile and a whole bunch of stuff in there as well. So that was right up my alley.
Oh, that's great. I'm looking up here. When I was just poking around at alternate history, and in the science fiction encyclopedia, the encyclopedia of science fiction, that is, it was talking about what they felt the first examples of alternate history were. And it says, let's see. Where is this one? It had to do with Napoleon. Okay. So it says the first unequivocal alternate history, mean not arguable, right? Because there's another one above that it says this could be maybe considered, but this one says this is the first one, was Louis Joffre's, and then this is in French, Napoleon et la conquête du monde, 1812 to 1832. And it translated as Napoleon and the Conquest of the World, 1812 to 1832, a fictional history. And it was written in 1836.
Does it say it's been translated into English? I don't know if that ever has.
Yeah. It says Napoleon escapes intact from his 1812 Russian adventure and conquers the known world. So there you go. Yep, I don't know if it doesn't say anything in here about an English version,
but yeah, like you mentioned the Harry Turtledove one, this at the beginning of the series, and as I was saying before we went live, that one I've not read, and I've not read any of the other. I've read a lot of Harry Turtledove, but the one that came to mind, as I was saying, is James P. Hogan's Proteus Operation, which is, Second World War as well. And that would be kind of neat to read two of something like that and compare them.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I don't remember a lot of details about that book, but I remember having it in high school. It would have been way back in high school. Science Fiction Book Club edition. I can actually see the cover. But I read a lot of James P. Hogan, Inherit the Stars, Gentle Giants of Ganymede. Then he wrote one about robots that was really interesting. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. I can see the cover. What is it?
Code of the Life Maker.
That's it. Yeah. Where some robots crash landed on a planet, and then eventually they started a civilization. It kind of sprung forth, and they actually split up into male and female because they each had half the code, half the code that they needed to make more. It was really interesting.
Yeah, there's a sequel to that too. I forget what it's called. I
never read a sequel.
Code of the Life Maker.
Code of the Life Maker is the first one, right?
Yeah, no. I can't remember what the sequel is. Yeah, but yeah, I'm going to read. I was gifted. Well, Steve Donahue sent me, I think, Gentle Giants of Ganymede, then somebody else sent me all the rest of the series, and I've never read the final one. I've never read.
Giant Star, I think it's called.
No, it's is it? No, that's the third one. There's another one.
Third one.
Yeah,
there's another one.
There's 6 of them.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I have not kept up with my James B. Hogan.
Yeah, Entoverse is another one, and I can't remember the other 2. There's 6 of them in total, and I know I haven't read the last one, and that's another thing I keep forgetting. I'm starting to write these things down of what I'd like to do next year, and then I'll realize that I've got way too many things.
Yeah.
I'm reading an alternate history at the moment, actually.
What is that?
For Dick Timber. It's the Yiddish Policemen's Union by Michael Chabon.
Wonderful. I have read that one.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but yeah.
It's pretty good, actually. I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it too. Yep.
So is there any comments, any suggestions for...
No, they're being very quiet. I mean, we've got over 10 people here, but no one's saying anything. Have any questions, people, about
they're entranced by our conversation.
Well, that's it. But they can't use the excuse that they're working either this time because it's Saturday.
It's Saturday, right?
Yeah. What about your other stuff, though, Scott? Are you still doing your podcasting and?
Yeah, I sure am. Yeah, you bet. So I have a podcast I've been doing for 12 years now, which is just unbelievable. Every 2 weeks for 12 years. Yeah, it's called A Good Story is Hard to Find. It's me and another Catholic person that we just discuss books. They don't have to be Catholic books, but just books from that perspective. And we just discuss how that hits us, in a religious way. That one. And before that, I started in, it would have been about 2008. We started, Jesse Willis and I started a podcast called SFF Audio, and it continues too. And I'm an occasional guest on that one, but they're constantly doing what they call read-alongs, which is everybody that's on the podcast reads the same book. They get together for an hour or so and talk about it. And that's my favorite kind of book discussion. I understand that people, don't want spoilers and things, but by far the most interesting conversation is when you just don't worry about that and you delve into the things that you're reading and what you're finding. And invariably, whenever I'm in conversation like that, I end up, even if I feel lukewarm about a book, if there's somebody in this discussion who really likes it, it's always interesting. And often the book goes up in my estimation as a result. I just really like those deeper conversations.
And just a kind of point of curiosity for me, I suppose, is, obviously you like science fiction. You have a podcast relating to Catholic books.
Yes. Yeah.
Do the two intercept at some point? Do you get?
That's a really good question, because I used to feel that science fiction and religion were mutually exclusive. So I was born Catholic, and then I fell away for a long time, and part of it was this idea that science and religion really don't mix. But I certainly don't believe that now. I haven't believed that for a very long time. In fact, those two things have to mesh, right? If religion at all is true, it's got to accept science as well. So having felt that, I've realized since then that religion permeates in science fiction. Like that book Pavon that we were talking about. I mean, even if it is like a negative stance, it's funny that my favorite alternate history is a book that's critical of the church. And I would say my favorite short story is The Star by Arthur C. Clarke. And it is also about a Jesuit priest who's lost his faith due to something that he found. I won't reveal that because it's a very short story and it's a very good read. And a nice shocking ending for people who haven't read it. And it's available all over the place. But again, there's a person that's struggling in their faith. So it's almost as if, to me, what that story represents is that, that part of ourselves continues into the future. That religious impulse that we have still exists. And I do believe that it will still exist.
Cool. I'm just looking up the star now. Yeah. So
you give it a read. It's very short,
read it
and
later.
you'll find a copy of it. Yeah. So Gerald in our comments, he just talked about a canticle for Leibowitz, and I'm just finding, once I got over that hurdle and I no longer had that conflict, that opened up worlds for me. And I was seeing religion in science fiction all over the place. I mean, even in some modern science fiction, I was reading a story by Greg Egan the other day, who is really one of the, I would say, top short science fiction writers of today. He writes novels too. I actually haven't read any of them, unfortunately, but I do need to get at them. But he's Australian, I believe, and writes these mathematical brilliant things, and even in his stuff, their religion is. So a story called Oceanic was very interesting.
Yeah, I do like some of his stuff, or what little I've read of his, and that shocked people because he's a newer writer and a writer that's writing now. So.
And Ted Chiang, I go on and on about Ted Chiang.
Yeah.
Now I don't think he's a religious guy, but all of his stories touch on that. The very first story in Stories of Your Life is called Tower of Babylon, and it is a beautiful story about these people that are building a tower to heaven. This is what they've decided to do, and it's beautiful. I mean, just how it does that. They're building this tower, and they're people go around and around and around. You're going all the way up to the sky till you hit heaven. Is the idea. They want to break through the sky into heaven, and they just keep building up and up and up and up. And that story was published in Omni at first, right? So there's this religious impulse that humanity still talks about quite a bit, and even though I used to think that was separate, it's not. It's all very much there.
Yeah, I've got I've been gifted the Stories of My Life or whatever.
Yeah, I hope you read it. I hope you enjoy it too.
I'm going to,
I read, so Story of Your Life is a short story that inspired, it became Arrival, the movie Arrival. When I first read that story, when I first heard that it was going to be a movie, I couldn't believe it because I just couldn't imagine how on earth are they going to do that. And then they really did it. They did a really good job with it. But I would say I was going through a little bit of a lull in my science fiction reading, and then I read that story, and it reinvigorated my interest. I just thought it's a gem.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into it sometime because I made sure I put that somewhere that I can find it.
Very good.
So,
very good.
And mentioning Canticle for Leibowitz. When I read that last year, I discovered, I don't know if many people know that while he was working on a sequel, and it's been completed and it was published.
Yeah, the Wild Horsewoman or something like that. Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I've got it.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I've got it. And I do want to read it. But you always got to take it with a grain of salt when somebody else finishes it, or puts it together.
Yeah. It's called Saint Leibowitz and the Wild Horsewoman.
Yeah.
They published that it was in the 90s. Yeah, 1997. So.
Yeah, Geraldton's Arrival is one of his favorite. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be digging into that over the next little while. Because short stories, so that's the great thing.
That's great. A lot of those older stories. I'm sorry.
I said maybe I'll be tempted. I don't read a lot of science fiction, you see, so it's kind of new for me, all of this.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've always liked science fiction because of what it can do. I do like other kinds of fiction as well. I mean, I don't read exclusively science fiction. Right now, I'm kind of going into history. I really like. Do I know why Walter Miller only wrote this one book? No, I don't. I know he wrote some short fiction, but go ahead and tell us, Gerald. He wrote. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, he wrote much more in the magazines. He's got he won a Hugo Award for a story called The Darfstellar. The Darfstellar was about actors in the future, so there's a whole. He's got an anthology called The Darfstellar and other stories.
Well, his book, his novel is again going back to the fix-up.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what I was saying. A lot of these old stories they started in the magazines and then they later expanded them. So, A Canticle for Leibowitz was a novella, and I can't remember where it first appeared, but it was in one of the magazines, and then later on he expanded it into the novel.
yeah, I can't.
How did you get into science fiction then, Scott? I mean, was there some event like a film you saw and thought, "Oh, this is great"?
I would say that yes, Star Trek did it. Star Trek, the original series. So I was born in '68, so I wasn't aware while it was on, but it was in syndication. I was very young, and I remember getting up very early on Saturday mornings to catch it. It was on at 5 or 6 in the morning on my TV. And it just became a regular thing for me to do that. I was just captured by it. And then the first book I ever read, it was in 3rd grade, and I found a copy. Let me just grab it here. I've mentioned this a couple of times on BookTube, but there it is here. Dolphin Island by Arthur C. Clarke. I was really happy to find this. I found it, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, but it's a nice library edition, and it's exactly what I remember reading. So this is like a light bulb memory. 3rd grade in the library at the school, I pulled this down and I read it, and I never looked back. Right. So I had been watching Star Trek already, but this was I'm going to say, quote unquote, a serious piece of science fiction. It's about this guy, Johnny, who he's living in a house with his aunt and uncle. He's feeling a little bit estranged, and hovercraft passed by his house. Hovercraft, that's the way that they move goods in this world. So one night, one breaks down near his house, and it's just parked, silent. And he runs over there and gets on it, and then it takes off and it goes, and he's in the cargo hold, and then he's there for a while, and then he goes to sleep, and he wakes up in a crash in the ocean. So this hovercraft has gone off the land into the ocean like a hovercraft can, and it crashed, and then now he's floating at sea. And dolphins save him, and they bring him to an island where scientists are trying to communicate with dolphins. So these dolphins, and it's a terrific book. So they used to call them juveniles back then, so Heinlein and Clarke. I don't know how many juveniles Clarke wrote. I can't think of another one. But Heinlein wrote many of them. But this is Dolphin Island is a juvenile piece of science fiction. So that was my first one. And then ever since then, I've been exploring that. So my dad was a reader. My mom read some too, but neither of them were science fiction readers, So I was kind of on my own. I didn't have like a mentor telling me what to read or anything like that. So there were things like Robert A. Heinlein, I didn't really read until I was 18 or 19. But I liked Asimov, I liked Clarke, and pretty much anything offered by the Science Fiction Book Club. And then I would, many trips to the library. I used to ride my bike over the library. Grew up in Idaho.
And did you follow through with Star Trek through to the Next Generation and
Yes, absolutely. So I was in college when the Next Generation started. So that would have been my sophomore year in college. And I'm an electrical engineer. And so it was engineering school that I was at. And so I was in a dorm room full of geeks.
Full of Trekkies.
Full of Trekkies, yeah. So it was an event. That first episode was an event. It was like, we all gathered and watched that thing. And we wanted it to succeed bad.
Was there another science fiction show that caught your imagination as well?
There was. I remember something...
Deep Space Nine, wasn't it?
Yeah. Babylon 5, indeed.
Yep,
now that show, I did not watch in college. I didn't watch that show until the 90s. So In fact, I don't even know when it ended, but it ran for 5 years. But I had a friend who turned me on to that. The same friend that we started that SFF audio website with, the one that does that podcast, Jesse Willis. He got me into that show, and I watched it on DVD. It would have been like, actually not in the 90s. It would have been like 2003, 4, 5, something like that. And I watched them all. I got to binge it on DVD.
I got a question. Alexis just joined us. Who's the guest? It's Scott Danielson.
Hello. How are you?
He has a BookTube channel. He's been on hiatus for a while. He also has a podcast, which he does regularly. Another one, which he started, but he appears.
Yeah, and I'm an occasional guest on that one. Yeah, you bet.
So what happened to our names, Mark?
That's weird.
They disappear when I put the comment on. It's done that all the time, Shawn. Every single time we have a live, it does that.
I just thought it covers it up. I didn't notice it. Sorry.
It's amazing for someone who spends so much time in a science fiction world, how technology, our basic 21st century technology, mystifies you.
Well, it's interesting what you say about Star Trek. For me to get into science fiction, I think that was part of it as well for me, and that'll shock people. But I think it's a combination of Star Trek, Twilight Zone, and like 1950s science fiction schlock. Yeah. Those three things, I think, on TV that got me interested in science fiction.
Yeah.
See, for me, it was the X-Files, which I really enjoyed as a TV show, but it didn't get me into reading science fiction. So
interesting.
Yeah, but I did think it was a good show, and The Outer Limits. But I guess I never realized The Outer Limits of the 90s was basically a reboot of The Outer Limits from the 50s.
Yeah,
60s.
right.
Yeah, 50. Yeah, it doesn't hold a candle to it, to be honest.
Well, those old Twilight Zone shows are really fun. I still pick them up now and then and watch them.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Mark to. Well, if you're interested, like I've said, is to get a few short story collections like David G. Hartwell's Anatomy of Wonder or the Hard SF one. What's it called now? I can't remember.
Yeah, the Hard SF Renaissance one or Ascent of Wonder.
Ascent of Wonder. That's it.
Wonder.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, science fiction has lots of flavors. You know, the Hard SF means that it's trying to stick with what's possible. You know, so it's like conjecture based on science. You know. Nowadays there isn't a ton of that. Nowadays it's I would say much more a setting. You know, in modern science fiction, there are some exceptions, of course, but now it's more or less a setting. You know, space opera.
Yeah.
You know, so science fiction is a setting.
There's a great event coming up November, December, and January for Hard SF, and that's Hal for the Holidays.
Hal for the Holidays. Yep, love it. Yep.
Yeah, and that's Andy at Booklectic is setting that up, and I'm looking forward to that because I haven't read Hal Clement actually Harry Stubbs. I haven't read Harry Stubbs in a long time.
That's right. Harry Stubbs. I had forgotten that was his name. Yeah.
Well, Harry Clement Stubbs, I think. Stubbs, sorry, is his full name. So
yeah. And he was a high school teacher, I think.
Yeah, and he wrote a lot of science articles too. That's the thing. It's like I'm going through some of the magazines that I've got here, and I'm finding some really heavy-duty science articles that he wrote, like about stars and suns,
cool,
and things like that. So it's like I can't understand half of it. That's 70 years old.
I love it. Yeah,
I did read a good book. It wasn't science fiction, I suppose. It was science fact. But you know the physicist Michio Kaku?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a good book called Physics of the Impossible, I think it's called, where he looked at the physics of Star Trek and the stuff they did and how possible it would be. And I did find that fascinating, actually.
Oh, that's cool. Very good.
But still, I didn't pick up a lot of science fiction.
You bet.
I think it's hard, though. It's very hard when you find yourself in some not necessarily locked into some genres, but you have your genres by a certain age. It's very hard then to because you think there's so much to read of your own stuff. It's very hard to kind of move out of that comfort zone and go for.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There are times when I've thought, I'm going to go ahead and move out of this, because shouldn't I? And then I always come back. There's just something about it, like like when you read, let's say, a literary novel, and it's about characters, in a small town or something. Somebody's got a drug issue, these kinds of things. Those can be really affecting and profound. But what science fiction can do that those books can't is look at humanity as a whole. It's like, what they do is they come up with an other, right? So, Asimov's Robots is an example. So, it helps us. It helps. The good science fiction can teach us, about humanity in that way, by coming up with something else, either an alien or a robot or something like that, that is a contrast. Sometimes it's presented with one of humanity's traits, like Star Trek does this all the time, with one of humanity's traits, turned up to 11, where it's like, and that way you can focus on it without the baggage of it being a human being. You know what I mean? So it's unique in that way. That's one of the things it can do. And then the other thing that I really like about science fiction is that I think that it prepares us for change. And the conjecture, I do like a lot of the conjecture. Like, for example, hey, Brandy, one of the things that I like to talk about, I don't really like the new Star Trek that's on, except for Strange New Worlds. I loved Strange New Worlds. And I think that the main reason is, oh, cool. Very nice, Alexis. I like that. Star Trek, the original series, was a future that could be strived for, or striven for, striven.
Strive,
yes.
So
it was an optimistic look at what humanity could possibly achieve. And the modern Star Trek series we're right back to dystopia. It's like these are dystopian again, and it's like, I do not, that's not, there's got plenty of dystopias already. So it was disappointing to have Star Trek go that direction, when it was always like, in a way, a beacon of hope, is like, no matter what our problems are today, this future is possible. And I like a lot of those aspects of science fiction as well. There's a lot of that, where they'll take an idea, and then extrapolate that into the future and explore it. And I can't get enough of that. I still want to do. In fact, there's some nonfiction that I'm reading right now is about automation. So I said I'm an electrical engineer, so I worked 20 years doing control systems for manufacturing plants. That's like my area of expertise. And so right now we've got this robot revolution coming. Asimov wrote about these robots and this rising up against robots and things like that. So we are facing an interesting point in history that's going to be like the Industrial Revolution. It's already started. But we don't know what it's going to do yet. Is it going to displace jobs? Are people actually going to be out of, are they going to lose jobs? Where I'm at, I'm in Utah, and where I'm at, we're not seeing that. There's a lot of robotics going on, and our unemployment rate is super low. But we don't know what the long-term effect is going to be. And there's a lot of talk about things like Andrew Yang. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He wrote a book called The War on Normal People, which is a very unfortunate title, I think, because it has nothing to do with social, the social stuff that's going on right now, a lot of the social argument, but it has to do with, he's meaning economics. So it's like, companies are they're going to move into automation because it's in their economic advantage to do so. And that's not going to be to the benefit of normal people, which are people that would work and everything like that. And that's his intent in the title. But
But
I can't help it. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it's just a very interesting thing because, if people obviously lose their jobs, they won't have money to buy anything the robots are producing anyway. So
exactly right. Yeah.
The best scenario for me is that we all just get told we don't have to work again. We're all just going to be given money, and to spend on goods to help the economy,
right.
and we can stay home reading and doing whatever we want for the rest of our lives. It'd be fine.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, so I guess my point is, it's like we're in a point in society right now where we can see this coming, and the United States, at least, is horrible at doing anything to react to something that's coming. We only react to what's happening.
Yeah.
But I wish that we could, because this could be a great moment for humanity. That I've read plenty of science fiction where it's like, this is freedom. That this is a lot of freedom that we could achieve. But how do you get from here to there? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know how to get from here to there.
Yeah, even Asimov talked about that, where if you have more time, you can. He talked about the computer, where you could sit back and take courses. You could learn things, and reading, and that brings up something that there's a few videos about. Children. Nobody's reading anymore. Children are not reading as much as they used to, and that sort of. Yeah. And then in combination with what you're saying, if we're going that way, what are people going to do?
Right. And that's the stuff we should be thinking about right now. What Mark's talking about, Andrew Yang's solution is actually universal basic income.
Yeah.
That maybe we ought to be having, a basic income, and then people's choices will open up. They'll be happier, they'll be able to say, yeah, I do want to go to work and I want to do this for a living, and then with some type of a universal basic income, maybe that's possible, so I don't know if that's right or true or good, but these things we need to be figuring these out right now. The thing that I think is rough is when the government does things like, and again, I'm in the United States. I don't know what it's like over there, but they'll do things like stop the progress. They'll just say, this is going to cause us problems, therefore we need to stop. And I don't think that that's a good solution, because if you look in history, like in the like when electricity was invented, there's a book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Technology Trap, and it's about the same thing. It's about automation. And in the prologue, it talks about these folks that were lamplighters in New York City, and their job was to keep the lamps lit when the sun went down. That was their job, right? And along comes electricity. It's better, it's safer. You don't need the lamplighter anymore. But the lamplighters fought back. They would break the light bulbs. They would go on strike. They would try to throw whatever into the gears of society, right? And you have half the city that are like, yeah, the lamplighters should keep their jobs. They should just do that, But imagine if we had stopped electricity, in order to do that. Part of the world would have gone for it, and we'd be in a pretty difficult spot right now. Without that, we wouldn't even be able to defend ourselves.
Yeah,
we actually have just 2 hours north of me into Poland. There's a city called Wrocław, and they actually kept on their lamplighter. He's kind of a tourist attraction. So every evening he does his rounds, like in the old days, turns it all on and stuff. It's
that's cool.
That is cool. The problem with I think a lot of that is when something like that happens, they never give a viable alternative for people,
for the lamplighter.
Yeah, they don't give. They just said, well, you're out of work, go home.
Yeah,
gone. And
that's exactly what we need to be preparing for and doing, right?
I think the thing is we'll have family robots or something like that we send out to work.
Oh, there you go.
That would be all right, wouldn't it? We all own. Well, yeah.
Well, it goes back to Asimov with through the robot stories, and the whole thing is that there was this backlash against the robots, so they were banned from Earth. They couldn't have any of the robots on Earth, and you just sort of and he shows what the impact of that actually was for Earth. And it's like it was not great.
I like Mark's idea. It's like you buy robots to go to work for you,
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe the robot never comes home from a manufacturing plant, let's say, but it works all day. It's like your surrogate, right? You buy this robot at the manufacturing plant, and it just basically sends you money.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
There we go.
It's programmed with your knowledge or education if you need it. Maybe, but then I suppose you could increase it, couldn't you?
We're writing a science fiction novel right here. So everyone who's born gets a robot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It follows it through life, and then when it comes to work, you get to stay home or go on holiday to the Bahamas or whatever, and your robot turns up at your work and
still working, right?
But that creates, well, not creates their problem, but the interesting thing was, and I think the year of the plague, 2020, showed this, especially here in the UK, where people were put on furlough. So they were given, 80%, I think, of their wages to stay at home to make sure, companies would continue. Or there was a lot more to it than that. But so many people that all of a sudden they didn't know what to do. They did not know what to do. And it goes back to the thing, because I suggested read a book and to colleagues that I had, and it was like I insulted them. They were bored, and that goes back to, again, there has to be a viable alternative for people, I think, and that really is something that's always been missed.
So maybe their robots could stay home and read the book, and they can go out to work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
I just want to have a quick look at the comments. I don't know what Orville is.
Yes, I do. I haven't watched the latest season of Orville, but thanks, Spectre. And I would agree. That's the most Star Trek show that there was until Strange New Worlds. I really liked Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I never.
Chris, I'm writing that down, Chris. Yeah. Did you watch the Orville?
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
I've never seen it. I know of it, but I've never seen it.
It'd be interesting to see S. Lewis being a religious person and having a science fiction poem. So,
heck yeah, love it.
Brandy's got a comment. If science fiction can be trusted, robots will soon turn on us and demand their freedom.
Well, that's easy. Dwight Schrute in The Office told us how to handle that. You just make the extension cords very short.
Yeah.
So when they come at you, it just pulls right out of the wall, and you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, C.S. Lewis wrote a trilogy of science fiction novels that are terrific. Super, super good stuff.
Yeah.
It's called the Space Trilogy.
Asimov talked about that. Everything is, there's safeguards built in. It's like you got stairs. Stairs can be dangerous, but you got a railing for it. So there's always safeguards. So why would somebody create a robot with no safeguards?
Well, to be honest, I
have no idea.
I'm not particularly worried. Yeah. If anyone's got an Alexa or a Siri or something like that, and you try and ask it something and it goes completely off on something different, it's like, all right, I'm not too worried now.
You talk about having tough times with technology. Loving Star Trek, growing up with Star Trek, they're always talking to their computers and everything. I find those things so frustrating. It just never works the way I want it, and I just don't even use it anymore.
Well, I love bad
if you want on my phones or the Alexa or anything. It's just like, that's just doesn't work.
It's so bad if you want to do anything in a foreign language, though, because I love, for example, listening to opera, and I want the Marriage of Figaro, for example, and of course I'll say it in Italian. Doesn't understand. Then you have to say it in like a terrible English person trying to pronounce Italian accent for her to get it, and it's just more hassle than it's worth. Sorry, Shawn.
No, the thing is with computers too is like they'll do everything correct for 10 times, and then the 11th time they've got a mind of their own and they just won't do the same thing.
That's right. So you talk about like why would anybody program a robot without those rails? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a thing. Humans are strange folk.
What you called it?
Sometimes they do. It's like the military is scary when you read. When they start pulling triggers based on their own input and they make that decision, we've crossed a line, and I feel like we may have already done that. I don't know for sure, but
maybe we can try this.
Do that, Mark.
Maybe if we hear it. So, Alexa, what are the 3 laws of robotics?
The laws of robotics are 0, A robot may not harm humanity, or, by inaction, allow humanity to come to harm. 1. A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. 2. A robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. 3. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
It's not
Very
the exact
nice.
wording, but it's got the zeroth law in there, which is kind of interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. Love it. See, Alexa, we got nothing to worry about. She knows the laws. Well, I'm probably setting off your Alexa.
I was. But you see, that's another kind of failure about it, really. I mean, we're still in such early stages that, you know.
That's good stuff. The beginning of the rebellion. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, because Asimov called the whole thing as the Frankenstein complex. You know, like that the create whatever people create will turn on them.
Right. Elon Musk predicts that in the future we'll be able to communicate telepathically.
And how? And how?
He sounds like that's John W. Campbell was a big fan of that, right?
Yeah.
Telepathy was one of his favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be pretty dull, wouldn't it, if we were sitting here communicating telepathically only? It's kind of like,
oh man. Yeah, there's a book called The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester.
No way! I just bought it.
Oh, wonderful! That's good.
Yeah,
what it's about is you have that to look forward to. It's great.
Yeah, that's so strange. Maybe it was suggested when I was looking at the turtle dove or something.
Telepathically, right?
No. From when I was getting the turtle dove, I think it might have been one of the suggestions.
Maybe okay.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah, that's a great pick. But yeah, it's about a telepathic society, and then a murder occurs. Yeah. How do you pull a murder off in a telepathic society?
Yeah, it says like the world's richest man has this desire to commit murder, but they can telepathically arrest criminals before they do it. Right. Yeah, it's a bit like
that was a Minority Report. Yeah,
and got to circle back now to Babylon 5.
The Espers, right? That's right.
Oh dear,
that's really good. Alexia has a lot of cool Easter egg answers like that. That's great. You always ask the phone, make sure have them open the pod bay doors.
Pod bay doors.
Yeah, from 2001. I don't know if Alexa has a good reaction to that, but Siri does.
Well, and I think the truth is out there is another one.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
That's it. She said, "I'm
in space."
She says, "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Something, and we're not in space."
That's right.
And also, to ask her, is the truth out there?
Alexa, is the truth out there?
I want to believe.
That's great. That's great.
Oh. Chris says telepathy is not the same as mind reading.
Okay.
Mind reading. Mm-hmm. I'm not up on it.
You're saying telepathy only on purpose. So it's like I purposefully want to communicate to Mark something, and I'll be able to do that, but he won't be able to read every thought.
Be kind of nice though, wouldn't it? We could have like a private telepathical communication line and talk about Shawn while we're actually talking with Shawn.
Exactly right.
You mentioned Simak again. What are we going to,
No, I haven't mentioned Simak yet.
I noticed. I mentioned him 2 or 3 times and you didn't. So
that's great. There's lots of science fiction novels that, Harrigan. Wonderful. Oh, Jason. I'm afraid I can't repeat what Jason's thinking right now because we would need to put a
and he's wondering. Well, no. And then the second thought is, why are we not talking about Umberto Eco?
I love it.
Probably time for a drink, no, Jason.
Oh, awesome! Love it.
It looks like you've got beer there, Scott, or is it iced tea?
No, it's iced tea.
Uh-huh.
It's only 11:50 a.m. here.
Well, it's sun's over the yard arm. It's all right. It's Saturday, holiday weekend.
That's right. Very true. Yeah, we got a 3-day weekend here. Love it. Heck yeah.
I don't really understand. It's Labor Day, isn't it?
Labor Day, yep.
And what is it actually celebrating? Like working people, or
just folks who work? You know, it's yeah.
Kind of a bit.
They give us a day off
for America, isn't it?
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is nothing really occurs on Labor Day except for sales. It's great to have the day off, but there's nothing scheduled or anything like that.
So basically, the people kind of a little lower on the working order do have to work over Labor Day.
That's absolutely true.
That's very American, isn't it?
I can't argue that.
I think
lawyers, they can have the weekend off, but
are they able to afford a robot, or do they get the cheaper robot that don't show up at work at times?
Maybe it should be something like the draft in football.
Yes.
The poorest people get the best robots, and then you kind of work.
There you go, man. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Yeah, this is. I think we've solved it. Yep, celebrating capitalism. Yeah, Jason, everybody's going to get their own robot. We've figured it out.
Imagine if they learn from us. So if they're with us from an early age, so Jason's robot grows up acting and speaking like Jason, for example.
Yeah, there you go.
It'd be great. Sean's robot is too afraid to leave the house and just stays home with him.
I am not afraid to leave the house.
No, I'm only it's a joke.
There's a novel by David Brin called Kiln People, K-I-L-N.
Oh, yeah.
People.
Yeah, I know that one.
And so this isn't robotics, but the technology is invented where you can make copies of yourself. And the copies of yourself can have some of your attributes, like if you make a copy of yourself to clean the house, you don't want it to question the cleaning of the house. You just want it to do it. So you don't give it all of your intelligence or something like that, let's say. And then I remember a scene where someone's wife was going on a trip, and she leaves her husband a note and says, "I left a me in the fridge." So there you go.
How's Dick Tember
going? A robot
going?
served Jason's dinner last night.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, they can be a bit robotic, some of those people, maybe. How is Dick Tember going? Who is the better detective, Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot?
Ooh, boy. Yeah. That's a good question. It's a tough one. Sherlock Holmes. I still have some Sherlock Holmes to read. I haven't read them all. And Poirot, I've read a few of. Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express. He seems to know what he's doing.
Yeah. The little gray cells work.
Yeah. So who's better?
I would go with Holmes. I have to be patriotic about this, of course.
There you go. I love it.
I think it's a difficult one. I wonder if you choose two other detectives maybe that aren't as iconic, perhaps. I don't know, well known. What would you say, Shawn, if I said Charlie Chan or Nick Carter then?
Charlie Chan.
Excellent. Charlie Chan is a great detective. He really is. He deserves to be much more widely read. And, I keep saying this every time we talk about it. People are put off because they assume it's going to be very problematic, very racist, but it's none of those things. So, people should really give it a go. Natural robot in Marco Polo's in Limerick City.
Love it. That's now, fantastic.
Jason, is Marco Polo's an Italian or a Chinese restaurant?
Well, that's what I mean. It's an interesting combination: robot, Marco Polo, and Limerick. Forget about the city. Forget about the city at the moment. Robot, Marco Polo, and a Limerick.
I feel like it should be Italian, but then it could be Chinese. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you what are you reading, Scott, when you're not reading science fiction or books with some
Catholic
undertone. Well, Catholicism
Yeah.
theme or Catholic undertone.
So,
Yeah,
lately I've been getting really interested in history. I'm reading one of Will Durant's books right now called The Age of Faith, which, it's not it's not another Catholic book, but it starts with Constantine, and I can't remember how far it goes, but his book, The Story of Civilization. I don't know if you've heard of that set. There's like 11 volumes. It's just a general world history.
Sean's got it probably.
What's that?
I've read it.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the set.
It was written in the 40s and 50s. It seems like it took him a while to write it, but of course it would have. Yeah. Each book is like 800 pages long or something like that. But I'm enjoying that right now. Let's see. I really do like John Steinbeck. I was watching Sterling Reed Summer talking about Steinbeck. I like him quite a bit. I've got a cat here scratching my couch. Come here, kitty. I do like some mysteries. East-West Fusion, says Jason Harrigan. Some of the ones that I'm into right now, Craig Johnson, I've read the first two of his. It's about a sheriff in Wyoming. I like that. And I really like James Lee Burke. James Lee Burke writes about a guy named Dave Robichaux who starts off in New Orleans. They're crime thrillers, I would say. So yeah, pretty eclectic. I read, and I do like a lot of nonfiction. I've been reading I decided a little while ago that I would read through the U.S. presidents. I read a really good book about Teddy Roosevelt called The Bully Pulpit. And I did that as a buddy read here on BookTube a while back. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start, the first time I was aware as a kid, the first president I was aware of was Jimmy Carter. So I started with him, and I was going to kind of read through to today. I find some of that pretty interesting stuff. The presidency is a very interesting thing we've created. It's interesting to me, like in England, you have like the Queen, and then you have the Prime Minister. And it's like, and please correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it's like the Queen is kind of representing England culturally, or kind of the soul of the place. And then the Prime Minister is separate from that and is, doing laws and things like that. And in the United States, that's all one person. We ask all that of the same person. It just seems a tough, almost impossible job, especially now.
But at least that person is elected.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Still, given the choice between the people we elect in England and one that has been there her whole life, I would actually probably go for the Queen over Boris Johnson or anything else.
For sure. No, I haven't read Tex Murphy. That's great.
I know the name Under a Killing Moon, but
I've heard that title too.
Maybe it is the old PC game, the old computer game. It might be what I'm thinking.
That's cool. Tex Murphy. Yeah, head of state versus head of government. Yeah. So, I mean, does the Queen have official duties like the head of state? Is she like our Secretary of State? I don't think she is, right? Doesn't the government have? I mean, the British government. Who's the person? Like our Secretary of State is who negotiates and things like that. They're basically talking to other countries.
We have a foreign secretary.
That's what it is. Foreign secretary. I was looking for that word. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the Queen does have official duties. She does do a lot of things in her capacity as like patron of different charities. They do send the royal family abroad to certain negotiations to try and, boost Britain's image abroad. And also, of course, she is the head of the Commonwealth. So, of course, the countries that used to be part of the British Empire, she's still head of state in some of those countries.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn over there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, very interesting.
Double. I get her double then.
Yeah.
Because I'm here in the UK, so therefore, that's pretty.
It's quite difficult though, because I remember, years ago watching the Rugby World Cup, and it was in Australia, and Prince William, the second in line to the throne, he was he jumped with joy over England winning. But of course, then afterwards, he had to play it down because England beat Australia. And of course, he's not just in line to the throne of England, he's going to be one day king of Australia. So
I see. Yes.
Difficult.
Amazing. Yeah.
And Jason again. Johnson. Yes, they were. Yeah. Both Johnson and Truss were foreign secretaries. Yeah, that's true.
And that's bloody scary.
Well, I mean, Johnson got that poor woman an extra 5 years in prison, didn't he?
Yeah.
We had this. There was this British Iranian woman who was arrested in Iran on spying, espionage charges, and Boris Johnson kind of dealt with the Iranian government to try and get her release, but he did it so badly she actually ended up with a longer sentence.
Oh my gosh! Holy smokes, that's rough.
Pretty rough. Yeah, she's free now, though. I will add, she is free now.
That's good.
Took a while. Good. It's crazy.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
I don't know many Secretary of States that went on to be president. Do you? I mean, probably there are some.
President?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of
president?
One.
Sorry?
President?
Yeah,
president,
a Secretary of State that went on to be a president.
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying foreign secretaries, and I'm going, what president? Secretary? Never mind.
That's a good question. I can't think of one.
There might have been some.
Hillary Clinton almost did it.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton would have been
the early days, perhaps. I'm trying to think if someone like Johnson was an early Secretary of State.
I wonder if Theodore Roosevelt was.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, just looking at Roosevelt here. Put on my glasses.
Because I know a couple. Who's the second president?
The second one? Adams.
Yeah. Adams. No, Adams, and then Is it Jackson? No. Who am I thinking of? Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
I want to say I think he had an ambassadorial role at least, but
yeah, he was in Paris.
But yeah,
it was.
Roosevelt was a vice president.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Biden was a vice president.
Right. Governor of New York, Assistant Secretary of the Navy. This is Roosevelt. Yeah, Jackson. It doesn't say that Jackson was a Secretary of State. He was a first federal military commissioner of Florida.
All right.
Yeah. So you had that going for him. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Zen author. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rumors are Mike Pompeo might try. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think maybe so. Indeed.
Jefferson, maybe that's who I'm thinking of. Thomas Jefferson, was he?
Oh yeah,
Jefferson might have been.
Yeah, maybe he was the ambassador. Thinking, yeah.
Thanks, Chris. I was getting very confused in my little brain today.
Yep, that he was. Well done. He was the first Secretary of State ever.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he was the U.S. Minister to France.
So there's a full minister to France. So it wasn't ambassador.
Actually, I'm sorry. He was a minister to France first, and then he was a Secretary of State. So he was appointed by the Confederation Congress, and he replaced Benjamin Franklin. So this is before the presidency.
Yeah. It sounds like something out of Star Trek, doesn't it? The Confederation Congress.
You're right, it does. Yeah. That's right. Oh, too good. Too good. That's
so
great.
What are your plans for the rest of the long weekend, Scott? Anything exciting?
I'm actually I was going to go visit my parents, but that actually got canceled. My mom's not feeling well. So she's just got a cold, she says. So gonna do that another weekend. But that was the big plan for the weekend. They live up in Idaho Falls, which is about 2 hours north of here. So I live in Utah, almost on the border of Idaho, yeah, it's a nice country. Especially once it stops being hot. Fall and winter, those are my favorite. Let's let her rip. Let's have some snow. So how about you? I mean, what's in Czechoslovakia, right? That's where you're at, or Czech Republic? Right?
Czech Republic, yeah.
How's the weather there? Is it?
It's actually quite pleasant today, I have to say. Temperature dropped a bit. It was around, well, I don't know if it will mean much to you, but it was in the mid-teens Celsius.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
But it's fine. I mean, it's a normal weekend. We're back to a normal schedule now. School started back on the 1st of September.
Very good.
We start teaching on Monday properly, and that'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Great.
Well, looking forward to it. Yeah, I will say on a live broadcast in public because I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be fantastic.
I mean, I'm so lucky though. I really am. I do work in a very, very great school, and that's a big, that's a big plus. I can imagine if you work in a different type of school, it must be hell, when you know that the first week of September is coming and it's like you have to go back. But I was looking forward to it. I am looking forward.
Helped you decorate your wall there, didn't they too?
I was another school, but yeah, basically. I mean, they're very nice.
Very good here.
So
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's very English. Well, it's completely pitch black right now.
Oh, that's too fun. Yeah, it's approaching 40 Celsius here today. We've got about another week of that, and then hopefully we have a very short fall, very short spring, very short fall, and then we should start seeing some snow in October. Is usually we get a little bit in October. We'll see if it arrives this year. We've been fairly normal summer though. It hasn't been horrible.
For here in the UK, it's actually outside okay as well. It's an early 20s, low 20s Celsius. But as I've always said before, add 10 degrees onto that, and that's what it is in here. So so when it did get up to 40 outside, it was
miserable. Oh, I bet.
Really miserable.
Yeah. That's wild.
Thankfully,
wild. Yeah.
How many cats have you got, Scott?
We have 3.
And
a German Shepherd.
Oh, okay. So and a dog as well. Yeah.
1 German Shepherd. Yep. There's a cat. I didn't know. Did you see one behind me, or what's that?
Are they indoor or do they go out as well?
They go out too. Yeah. They're both. Yep. Absolutely. So when can you guys remember a time when you started reading? Was there a book that launched it?
I think yeah. I mean, the books I had read to me that I remember at least, getting me interested. One was a picture book, but it told a great story called Georgie Grubb, which was about a boy who never washed. And what happened to him? He ended up being taken out with the rubbish and the garbage and being, put in the town dump. And then it would have been things like Treasure Island, especially. I remember that being read to me. But the first book that I read in one go, like myself, I stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning to finish it. And I would say that's an important reading moment for me, was C.S. Lewis's Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't put it down. And so, yeah, combine that with Roald Dahl, which I also devoured as a child, would have been my thing. So I think from the age of around, I read before the age of 7, but I would say 7 was a crucial year in really cementing how much I loved reading. Shawn?
Yeah. Cool.
I guess for you, it was the Epic of Gilgamesh, no?
I came to that a little later. I don't remember actually I remember a book for sure, but I know I read before that, and I'm not 100% sure. That one of the first things I remember doing with at school, you would get up and do a little speech. And I remember doing something on Charles Chaplin. So I must have read something, a book or something like that about Charles Chaplin. I can't remember what that was. And I know I read other things, but not a lot. The first book that really sticks out in my mind is Elspeth Huxley's little biography of David Livingstone. That was one of the first ones that I actually remember reading from the school library, and that's where my interest in Africa and explorers started as well. But I read stuff before, but I can't remember.
Did you ever read like children's books, Shawn?
No, that's the one thing. No, I never did. I only started reading children's books as I got into an adult in the 20s, and I'm still reading stuff. Like I've never read 90% of what people would have read when they were 6, 7, 8 years old. I never did. You know, I started reading Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan, and all this stuff when I was about 18 or 19. And, you know, I enjoy them, and I still enjoy them. But I think I would have really thought better of them if I was 10 or 11 or 12. But I never did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, The Three Investigators. Love it. Yep. I read those too.
I don't know them. What are they?
What are the Three Investigators? Hold on a second.
I'm just too young, obviously.
The other thing I'll say is like Hardy Boys. I did read some Hardy Boys. But that
the Hardy Boys.
14, 15, 16, you know. I mean, same time.
I happen to have one right here.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock, yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't
recognize the cover. But I don't think I've ever read that. I recognize the cover.
I have a real clear memory on this one too. This is good stuff. It's a mystery, you know. It's
like Hardy Boys or something.
You know, exactly like the Hardy Boys, but the Three Investigators are figuring it out. And this book is one I remember was in my classroom when I was in second grade. It's another one of those really nice memories, finding this book, and it was in the windowsill in my second grade class.
And you just took it home with you and never took it back?
Yeah, and that's what they were for. Yep, you'd just take it home and read it. And because they would have reading every day. We would have an hour a day that we were supposed to be reading a book, and she supplied books if we didn't have one.
There's a good question.
Well, let me just say 1 second, Shawn. That fits in also very nicely with our topic for what we talked about children reading. Mm-hmm. You see, Scott's saying that you know they had them in the classroom. You could take them home. So again, there was no reason that any child would be deprived of having the chance to take a book home with them.
Right.
Anyway,
right. Yeah.
Sorry, what question?
No. It's just like when you said that he took the book home, and I was thinking of the George Orwell that you read about that. It sort of seems to think if you steal a book, it's okay.
It balances it out. It balances out.
Have you ever I'll go last. Mm-hmm. Scott, have you ever borrowed a book from a library and never took it back purposely because you wanted to keep it, or actually picked up and stolen a book? I'm curious.
I have not. I can't think of a time when I've done that. Yeah.
Well, you see, unfortunately, I'm not a religious person. I'm not a Catholic, so I can't even I can't even confess to having done that and be absolved from it. But I've done it. Yeah, of course, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not so premeditatively as that, but there have been books, especially when I've gone through them years later, and I'm like, where did this come from? It's like property of such and such school library.
So I would say that I have, you know, like if somebody lends me a book or something like that. And then years later, I'm like, oh man, I should get that. But it was more from embarrassment that I never actually read it.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted it so bad, I wanted to keep it. You know what I
mean? Shawn?
Yeah. Well, I definitely did. I think the Elspeth Huxley's biography of David Livingstone, I don't remember ever taking it back. I remember having an ex-library copy of it, I made it ex-library.
That's right. I love it.
My first book was Maurice Sendak, not Simak, Shawn, don't get excited. Chicken Soup with Rice. My mum was a Montessori school teacher, so reading was a must as a kid. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think Where the wild things are, right? Oh, cool, Alexis. Wrinkle in Time. Yeah.
Are you guys worried about possible nuclear disaster over in Europe? Any plans? Well, I don't know. I don't know, Chris. What can I do about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you mean nuclear disaster because of one of the Ukrainian nuclear power plants going down, or whether a nuclear bomb. If it's the latter, I think we've all got to worry. It won't just affect those of us in Europe. And if it's a power plant, well, we somehow managed to survive Chernobyl and probably somehow we'll get through it again. So we'll see, I guess. Shawn, you worried?
Oh, yeah. Again, it's nothing we could do. And if they lob some missiles, then I'm not even in a position to bend over and kiss my goodbye. I'll just say goodbye books, and that's about it. That's about all I could do. There's nothing you can do about it.
Choose your own adventure, definitely.
Yeah, choose my own adventure for sure.
Yeah, I never read.
Absolutely.
As I say, I really missed out as a kid. I never read kids' books until like maybe 14, 15. I read stuff that I should have read at 7 years old.
Yeah, third, fourth, and fifth. I remember in fifth grade reading Jaws for a book report, which was, that's kind of a thick adult book. I was feeling very adult. So, yeah.
Well, maybe that should be a new reading event for you, Shawn. We'll have Shawn reads books that he should have read when he was a child.
Shawn reads
I do have a set of Winnie the Pooh. I do have a set of Winnie the Pooh, but it's way up near the ceiling, and I've never read other than briefly Winnie the Pooh, and that could be a start.
And is
Jason,
that book still on your shelf, Jason? Love it. First
in
edition.
show homes, they would glue the books to the shelf so people wouldn't take them.
Really? Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Oh dear.
That's right.
Oh, well, the other thing is I used to do, like I've done it here. Yeah, I don't know if they do it in other places, but in England here, you go into pubs and they've got shelves of books just for look. And sometimes there was one, I'd see one, I go, I want that book. So I'd come home and I'd trade with another book because it didn't matter. I don't think that's stealing, is it?
No. You didn't ask them, or you just did it?
I just did it. I traded. I usually gave 2 books for the one that I took, and I've only done that like 3 times over the 17 plus years I've been in the UK. So they were in plus by me taking it, and they buy this stuff not for the types of books or anything. It's just so many feet of books or a meter of books, and that's it. So that's not stealing.
Not at all. No way. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's hilarious. They would glue them to the shelf. That's too funny.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Dear. So, are you guys going to continue with your audio series?
Yes.
Yeah. It's really bad this month for me, so that's my fault. But yeah, we're hoping to do something in September here, and then in November science fiction still. Well, I guess you might as well say it. We're still planning to do War of the Worlds.
No, love it. Cool. Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah, 1938 or 39. I'm trying to remember.
38. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Terrific stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you were mentioning, with the Dick Timber, I think you said Sexton Blake you were talking about Sexton Blake in a previous video. Yeah. And there is a wonderful audio drama by Dirk Maggs. You guys know Dirk Maggs as an audio dramatist?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's called The Adventures of Sexton Blake. He did say that I got to talk to him a little bit on Twitter one time, and he said that some Sexton Blake aficionados were upset with him, though, because it's kind of a comedy is what he did. It was almost Sexton Blake knows everything about everything and does impossible things to solve the crimes, and says, I'm just trying to think of some of the sayings, but talks about justice and stuff. You know what I mean? So anyway, but it's terrific. It's great fun.
Yeah, I've heard some of them, I think, and I'm right now I'm reading Nick Carter. I'm actually reading the very first one, 1886. So Nick Carter predates Sherlock Holmes as well.
There's a Harrigan in our comments, and luckily there's a Donahue to take care of it.
Chris, okay, the Ukraine power plant. Yeah, well, I mean, the border with Ukraine's 300 miles down the road from me, so you know. And it's nice to see that Shawn's being a little bit showing his support for Ukraine as well, because just above Edgar there, Shawn, you've got the yellow spine of the book and the blue spine of the book. It kind of
there you go.
Ukrainian flag.
What is that? That's one of these science fiction masterworks, but I got to turn to see which book it is. Oh, that's the Cities in Flight, which I want to read.
Yeah, cool.
It does look like a little Ukrainian flag, though.
That's why I keep some things to hand that I want if I want to pick up and read.
Shell sign. Yeah.
Yep, I remember that quite well. Yeah, you gotta play the. Oh, too funny. Yeah, where the sidewalk is. Yeah, Shel Silverstein.
No, no. Going back to that was an interesting thing. Yeah, I could read children's books that I should have read when I was five
there
to
you
8.
Go.
Oh, yeah, 5 to 8. That's the date. That's the date range in that article, isn't it? 5 to 8.
Yeah, 5 to 8. That's what you should read.
Yeah,
there you go. I love it. Looking forward to that event. It's going to be a good event. Yeah. Heck yeah. Terrific.
No.
And what's your heritage, Steve?
Donahue, of course. Yeah. Well, that's the problem with the Irish. That sounds like a terrible comment is coming. I mean, that's something with the Irish that I noticed. They do like to, wind each other up and go on against each other, probably a bit more so than others, maybe. No.
It's the Guinness. We'll just blame it on the Guinness.
Blame it on the Guinness.
That's
right. Oh, here we go.
Right.
I love the way that Steve is sometimes 28 years old and sometimes 228 years old. It's like, second age. I think someone's been watching. What's it called?
Now they're speaking in code. Look at it. There it is.
Yeah.
It's all.
I think isn't that one of the laws of robotics right there?
Yeah. It's all Greek to me.
In Czech, we say it. Well, they say it's Spanish village.
Oh yeah, you said that. I love that.
How I said it before. Yeah.
Well, to me maybe, but not on. I don't think. But I love that.
The best one is what the Polish say, which is instead of it's Greek to me or it's Spanish village, they say it's a Czech film.
Oh, awesome.
There goes Jason breaking out the French.
Those are fighting words.
Dear.
Oh, too funny. I love it.
What's your own background, Scott? Are you, because it sounds, I don't know, quite English, really, Danielson?
Swedish. So I'm half Swedish, yeah. My dad is 100% Swede, and then
your dad is actually Swedish.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So his both sets of his grandparents came over to New York City around the turn of the century, and they were all Swedish. Yeah. Oh, so I'm half Swede, and then a quarter Irish. And then I guess an eighth Russian, eighth Polish.
Whoa.
That's my.
I love America. It's always got this kind of.
Yeah, I've got Polish as well. I got Polish Ukrainian. I think it's the combination.
Yeah, I can see you got Ukrainian, Shawn.
That's right.
That's so cool, though. I mean, I'm just boring old English until you get back to like the Norman and Viking invasions. Other than that, I am pretty much English. So
I also have Native North American as well. So I'm a real mixed. I've actually got. I probably could get status, Canadian Native status. I think there's enough in me that I could get legal status if I lived on a reservation. That's pretty scary because I'm as pale as you can be.
What would be the benefit of that?
I don't know what it would be now. I think you could go to university free. It kind of used to be able to, but I don't know. There's things like that. Oh, there's no border to the Canada and United States. I could bring across all the tobacco and the booze I wanted. I think, unless that's changed.
So there's no for Native North Americans. There's no.
Or there was. Unless that's changed, I don't know. Like it was. There was no border basically for them. But I don't know if that's changed. That's what I'd say. So could be wrong.
Don't know. Pay the troll toll.
Apparently, it's a John Philip Sousa march.
Oh man.
Oh, Alexis is half Swedish.
Hey, Alexis, love it. That's
and
great.
Did you actually learn Swedish, Scott? Or
no? In fact, I've only been to Europe one time, and that was in 2020, right before COVID broke out. I was in Rome with my dad, and that was great fun, terrific time. But that's the only time I've been over there. So I have hopes to go to Ireland, hopefully next year. And then my wife and I keep saying we're just going to plan a trip every year. I think we're finally past the worst of all the COVID and everything. So, I think, after that year we go to Ireland, I think the next one will be Sweden. So,
well
that's the hope.
I'm not so far from Ireland. So
yeah, absolutely right. You bet. Yeah.
Well, if you ever find yourself in the Czech Republic, let me know.
Thank you very much. I will.
It's quite a nice place. So as long as it doesn't get destroyed by Ukrainian power plants exploding or whatever.
Other than that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Nightman, fighter of the daemon.
Yes. Yeah. That's too fun. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, somebody asked me if I had read any Russian novels. And the only one that I can actually think of that I've read it was a fantasy book, and it was called it was the Night something. They made a movie out of it. Night Watch. That's it. Yes.
Sergei Lukyanenko.
That's it. Yes.
It's the only fantasy / horror series that I've actually read, and I love it.
Oh, it was very good. Series. Yeah, it was very good.
Haven't you read Zamatan?
I have not. Right? I haven't read that one. But I know of it. Yeah. That one is like a kind of a 1984 type of deal, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of. That's what they keep saying. That's what he sort of stole it from. But he was. I'm sure he was aware of it. There's evidence that he was aware of it. In the Czech Republic.
Oh shoot!
Close, Jason. Close.
So what's if I was going to read a Russian novel, what do you guys say I ought to read?
I'm not that. I want to reread so many. Well, I want to read some new stuff. Let's say Gulag Archipelago for just the upbeat note of it.
Solzhenitsyn, yeah.
Yeah, it's not upbeat at all, but
not upbeat.
I read recently The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov, and I really enjoyed it. It's very, very strange, but I think it could be worth reading. Excellent. And then if you wanted something more recent, then I would have recommended the whole Night Watch series because that's brilliant. Have you read them all or just the?
Nope, just read number 1. Yeah, and I did enjoy it. So yeah, I would like to read the others.
It's I think there's 6 of them now. He originally started doing it as a trilogy, and then of course the demand kept growing, and they never failed to delight me. I have to say.
What's it about? I don't know them. I've heard the name.
It's quite complicated, I think. It starts off the Night Watch is about basically, a long time ago, there was these battles between different types of others. Now, others can be shapeshifters, vampires, witches, wizards, warlocks, whatever. And there's light others and dark others. And of course, they're battling for like supremacy. And they realized they can't really get one over the other. So they draw up this peace treaty. And they decide to kind of, as long as they maintain this balance, everything's going to be okay. So they have these kind of ministries, and one of them is the Night's Watch or the Night Watch, which is which is where these light others patrol the night to ensure that the dark ones stay in balance. So, like for example, vampires only receive a certain number of licenses to hunt people and that kind of stuff, and when they do something wrong, then the light has to do something to balance it out. That's what I'm saying. It's a bit confusing. And then Day Watch is like the opposite side, and then there's like Twilight Watch.
Day Watch or Day Watch.
Day Watch.
Day Watch.
But it's very cleverly done, and the whole idea is that with these others, there's something called the Twilight, which is like an extra dimension that these others can draw their power from, and they can use to move between different, I don't know, dimensions. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds good, but I'm gonna plug Babylon 5 again because there's Night Watch on Babylon 5, but not similar.
Steve's 100%.
Babylon 5 is a great Russian novel, right? It's better in its original Klingon.
Yeah, it's written by Ivanova.
Right. 100% Irish. Love it.
Steve recommends you start with Chekhov.
Got it. I
so maybe short stories by Chekhov. Gogol, maybe.
Now we're back to Star Trek. but then I'll say Babylon 5 because his best role, the actor's best role, is on Babylon 8. It circles back to Babylon 5 always.
I love it.
Babylon.
Yes. The Brothers Karamazov is definitely on my list. Thank you, Alexis. That's one I've been told I should read. But yeah, maybe I'll start with some Chekhov and move into that. And I got Master and Margarita. Not a Russian novel, but not too long ago I read A Gentleman in Moscow. I thought that was
good.
a terrific book.
Yeah, very good.
Have
you read his others or?
No, just that one. Now since I've read that one, he came out with a new one. I can't recall the name, but have you read that one?
No, I like you. I've only read Gentleman in Moscow. I've got Rules of Civility, the book he wrote first. The previous one, okay. That. And then the next one is, I can't remember what you're right. Amortals, isn't it his name?
Right. Yeah.
Let me address while you do that, Alexis' comment there.
Mm-hmm.
In my defense, I haven't read Tolkien. I've not read too much fantasy. I've never been a fantasy aficionado, but Tolkien is one that's always been on my list to read. Yeah, no, you know that, Steve. I've never read Tolkien.
Neither have I. So there you go. Yeah, it's called The Lincoln Highway.
The Lincoln Highway. That's it.
Lincoln Highway.
Yeah.
The Hobbit is your favorite book.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good one.
I need to read it. I need to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think next year.
It's a nice thing to do in winter.
That's what I said to Shawn. I said it would be a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Winter Christmas thing.
For sure. Does it snow where you're at?
Yes. I live in Middle Earth, basically.
Okay.
What are you talking about as Christmas?
The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Maybe. Yeah, because Lord of the Rings we'll do in the new year, but we got to do The Hobbit first. So yeah, maybe Christmas. It's short. It's a short book or shortish.
Yep, it is. Yep.
Literally about a mile from my school, there is a Czech Hobbiton. Some farmer who had, I guess, too much time on his hands and no care for copyright, decided to build like a replica Hobbiton. So in his,
that's too funny.
We're in the foothills of the mountains and stuff. He's built these like proper Hobbit houses. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Oh man, who is? I was watching a show. It was on Amazon, but I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. But he visited a Hobbiton in Italy. He was one of the guys who was on that BBC show where they, with the cars, they would
Oh, Jeremy Clarkson or
yeah. So it wasn't Clarkson.
James May, maybe.
James May, right? So James May spent a series in Italy, just exploring Italy, and one of the things he did was go to a Hobbiton in Italy.
Yeah.
So, but it was a great show. That was just a tiny part of it, but
he's the only one that's stomachable out of.
I agree.
I thought he was great. I thought it was great. I guess he did a series in Japan and then did a series here in Italy. So I haven't seen the Japan one yet.
Why,
Tracer, hello.
Why Hobbit for Christmas? What's? See, I'm confused here. Why does Hobbit fit for Christmas? Somebody's got to explain.
Maybe Santa Claus is in it.
No, for me, it's just a comfortable long read for winter. You know, and I'm not talking about The Hobbit. I mean, The Hobbit. I was talking about Lord of the Rings. It's like just an epic thing to sit inside and read. That's what I meant when I said winter.
Okay.
So,
well, at least we've united Jason and Steve in their disgust for us, Shawn, over the fact we haven't.
Well, they're off to. Oh no, he's back. I thought maybe they've gone off talking to each other.
Even Aaron Facer thinks you're both losers. I'm surprised you want to be seen in our company, Scott. You're not trying to make excuses. Like, I think I better be going. These two haven't read Lord of the Rings.
You guys, you didn't tell me you were losers, and now we have this evidence that I'm hanging out here. So now what?
Well, have you read everything by? If somebody's not read everything by Clifford Simak, they're a loser.
Oh man, shoot!
For the rest of the
I have
world.
more to read. Yes, a fireside read. Perfectly put, Brandy. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think for me, I mean, I said to Shawn the other day that we should read it in winter because I got the feeling, obviously never having read them, but of course I remember the films coming out, and they would come out in November, December, and it was great.
Yeah. To me, I don't have that connection, but I'm happy if we do maybe Hobbit in December. Then we can slowly read the others in starting January. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I've got Les Miserables in January though.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, you're doing it weekends ago. I didn't know you were doing stuff. Okay.
A couple of weekends ago, I went to a Lord of the Rings film festival, which went from noon to 11 p.m. And we watched all three of those in a movie theater. It was awesome. It was the best. They gave us a half an hour after the first one and an hour between 2 and 3. But other than that, we were in there all day. And it was just fun.
I've done that with silent films.
Yeah. Like a big, long silent film. That's great. That's cool. One year, there was a World Horror Convention, HORROR, just to be clear. And it was down in Salt Lake City, and the people that were running it asked me to run the film room. So I spent 3 days watching horror films, basically from like noon to midnight for 3 days. And then there was a film festival thing where people would submit films. So I had those, but then I selected the everything else that we watched in that room. And I was basically in there the whole time. It was great. I snapped sometime on Friday night. Laughed uncontrollably. It was funny. But what a good time. It's a real nice memory. I do like to go to those conventions, by the way. I don't know if you guys have ever attended one. Have you ever, Shawn, been to a con?
Not a science fiction. Well, I've been to the signing things, where they do that.
Yeah.
I've never been to a science fiction convention where they had authors. I've never been to one of those.
Yeah.
And
I love that. We had a local one down in Salt Lake City called Conduit that I'd go to every year. And that has since they stopped doing that one. But then there's one called Life, the Universe, and Everything, which is a little further down the road in Provo, Utah. And I go to that one every year. And then I've been to WorldCon one time. That was in 2006. I went to that. It was in LA. The world. So Steve's been to the World Horror Convention. Love it. But so the conventions were getting popular in Salt Lake. So those ones that travel, like the World Horror Convention, which is about writing, so I was doing the film room, but that was just a tiny piece of the convention. It was really, a bunch of writers come together and do panels, and they give the Stoker Awards are given at that. But anyway, that was in Salt Lake that year.
Is the Stoker Award still going?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. So you bet.
I just got that. Dracula, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of the old ship Stoker, and I'm thinking, what on earth has that got to do with it?
That's right. They're stoking everything, stoking discontent.
This is online bullying, gentlemen. Poor old Aaron. Just because he's Welsh, he can't help that. Come on.
Too fun. But those are good times. I really enjoy those things and recommend them.
Yeah, they must be pretty good. I've always wanted to go to one of these medieval ones, though. I mean, there's a massive one in Romania at Sighișoara, which is a big, European medieval festival. It looks amazing. I'd love to go to that.
That's fun.
I guess it's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, you get people dressing up in medieval times, and for science fiction ones, you get people dressing up as Star Trek, talking about losers.
Not Babylon Live.
They're just people with really good dress sense.
Oh man, Steve! Oh, that's too good. Oh, I love it. That is classic.
So King Richard's Fair, and that's in Carver,
Massachusetts.
Is it MA, Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
One of the things that I want to get to soon is they have a Shakespeare festival here in Utah, and it's all the way in the southern end.
Oh.
But they've built a theater there. What was the name of his theater? The Globe, I think.
Globe,
they built a replica of the Globe down there and everything. It's gotten to be a big enough festival. Wow. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting down there.
That sort of reminds me of, like, occasionally you see in old westerns where there's a traveling theatrical guy that shows up in these western towns and starts doing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
in the mid 1800s.
Right.
Bringing
I
culture.
saw terrible film where they had that, and it actually, you've just reminded me of it, and it was something I didn't want to be reminded of ever again. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. It's on Netflix. It wasn't that bad a film though. So it's one of those films again that's like 5 or 6 short stories filmed together. But there's one where they have this kind of man, but he's got no arms and no legs, right? And his handler kind of just transports him around, but he recites, Shakespeare and all this kind of theater. He makes money from it and all this stuff, but it has a most horrific ending. It really scarred me for life. So,
oh wow, yeah, I haven't seen
it's worth
that.
watching. It probably is, but just be aware it's pretty horrible.
Oh man, wow.
Ever been to a Viking reenactment?
I have not. That would be cool.
Shawn?
Yeah, there's lots of those around.
Well, I thought you would have been to some. Plait the beard out and.
Those days are over. My kilt days are over. The Highlander days. When there can only be one. Nah. I'm past those.
Well, yeah, it was terrible, Brandy. But one or two of the stories I did quite like. I think that the first one was all right, but that particular story was it was horrible. But yeah, so don't watch it. It's not worth it. I'll be dressing up. Got my Hobbit cloak and walking stick.
Excellent.
I love the way people really do throw themselves into these things. You speaking about rugby, Jason?
The hooker long list.
Oh, Jason, no. I'm not reading it out.
You can spell it out.
No.
Salem, Massachusetts, we have people dressing up pretty much. Well, I can imagine what they'd be dressing up as well. Of course.
For sure, for sure.
About 10 years ago in my town here, they had a Renaissance fair that came through, and it was fabulous. You know, people I think they just live this life. 365 days of the year. They've got their little wagons that they go around in, and they sing, dance, do all this stuff. And they're used to, outside my window, outside of town, there was a steam convention, or I don't think it's called convention, but the steam thing. Steam engine and tractor, whatever. But they would go by, they drive them through the town here, and I'd sit by the window and watch them leave and then come back. That was fun.
Oh, awesome.
Where are we? The Wailing is a great Korean horror film. Excellent. Seen it twice. Oh, I havenent seen it, Chris.
Korean horror film.
I've seen some good Korean films.
I haven't seen many of them, but oh shoot! I haven't seen many Korean horror films, but I saw a great one about zombies, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. It was absolutely great movie. Let me see if I can find the name of it, or maybe somebody is going to pop up with that.
Everybody fighting the Vikings. I think you get these ones like this Vikings. You get the Renaissance. I think every period, like there's the even here in the UK, there's the English Civil War reenactments. You know, with the Roundheads. You know, they have to be very, very. It's gonna make it as a joke about. Never mind.
I kind of knew where you were going.
But yeah, there's all sorts of ones like that. There's so many.
Okay, Train to Busan is the name. That's it. Spectre came up with it right as I did. Train to Busan, terrific movie. Highly recommended.
And it's zombies.
It's a Korean zombie movie. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is that North Korea or?
Nope. Oh, too funny.
There's a good Italian one, apparently. Fantastic Italian horror film, Across the River. Exquisite cinematography. So
creepy. Nice.
Oh, well, the two Irishmen have gone silent, so must be taking a drink.
Yeah.
I'm going
to look up Across the River too. Thanks for all these recommendations.
Yeah, it's great doing these. We learn so much about stuff. It's true.
For sure.
They're all new films, though, new books. You know, like
nothing new. I think my alternate history picks were all too new for Shawn.
Yeah, they were all post basically 1965. Yeah.
In
the future when I do those subgenre things, I'll try to make sure I get at least one that's Shawn worthy on the list.
But then I added the Mark Hodder's Swinburne, the Burton and Swinburne ones. They're very post 1965.
You bet. Oh, love it. Yep.
Have you not been listening, Steve? We are going to be reading Lord of the Rings.
They're all over it.
And I actually said that, I think when I got my copy months and months ago, I sort of set myself up for reading it next year because I now have a copy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've got my copy as well.
I assume Steve, that next Steve comment, I assume that there it is. Look at that. There it is. Yeah, perfect. He's reading it now, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. Give me 5 minutes.
Oh shoot. If you don't read Lord of the Rings, how will you appreciate being lobotomized for $500 million on cable?
Well, I got so pissed off every time I went on Amazon yesterday. All I got on my phone was this bloody ad.
Rings of Power. So did you order yourself?
There's nothing that can, even if I don't have Prime anymore, but there's nothing that could bring me to watch it. Just because I haven't read it, so I would never watch it.
Did you order yourself your own Ring of Power?
What is there? The book? What?
No, you just a guy would like a Ring of Power. It's a good thing to have. There are almost no side effects.
I was getting Lord of the Rings, Alexis.
Lord of the Rings.
I have too many precious things to worry about. Ring power.
I could see you being a bit of a dwarf, though, Shawn. You've got that look. I don't mean a dwarf. Yeah, I mean like from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, you got that dwarf thing going on, maybe.
Yep.
You know, I quite fancy myself as an elf or something, maybe. You know,
is that
unfit elf?
Is that how much this thing is cost?
I have no idea. I watched episode 1, and like I said, I haven't read the appendices, so I'm sure Steve has. So I don't know how far off the beaten path it's going, but it is beautiful. They spared no expense. I can tell you that.
I haven't read Dune either. I'm a big loser. I might as well just go. Oh, I can't. I'm the host. Oh, sorry, I missed the
first season alone costs north of $500,000.
Who's that?
Spectre.
Dune Deluxe Edition.
Yeah, but who's he referring to?
Steve's referring to Spectre, but I accidentally clicked on Steve before Spectre's comment.
Okay.
Maybe Shawn.
Did you look up some Dune Deluxe Editions?
No, I think they're talking about Centipede Press ones. I could never afford those things. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, the Northman was terrible. Yes, it did cost $500 million for $500 million
really?
For the first season.
Bloody hell.
Yes.
I think that's where they got everybody from the convention you went to. By Clifford Simmons.
The Witch, Chris, The Witch is a good movie. I did like that. And I don't know The Northman, but it sounds like it was terrible and I shouldn't bother anyway.
Well, I heard mixed reports on it. I think it's that new Viking film, which came out not that long ago. Some people said it was quite good. But
cool.
To each their own, I suppose.
Right. Yes, we've all gone to the Twilight Zone. You bet. Yeah. Is the finest episode the one with Burgess Meredith and his thick glasses? Do you guys remember that one? Did you see that? What was that called? So Burgess Meredith has really thick glasses, and he's in a he just wants time to read. That's what he wants more than anything.
He's a bank clerk. He's a
bank clerk, right? And he ends up in a safe. He's in a safe at the exact moment that bombs go off, right? And he goes outside and everything's rubble, but he gets over to the library and is so happy that now he has time to read. But then something tragic happens.
Yeah,
hang on, sorry, sure. You can't say you won't spoil it. If you don't want to know the ending, mute your
mute. Yeah.
I want to know because it's like 50 years ago and more.
He goes into the bank vault to read, and then he comes out and there's a nuclear war. But then he finds, the library all, books all the time to read.
So hang on, the library is the only thing here. The bank vault, the library,
the only rubble,
thing.
but it's like a pile of books. It's
okay.
So he's able to go and get books. Yeah.
And then he stumbles on the steps, and his glasses fall on the steps, and they break.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that is cruel. Whoever came up with that is cruel. Very, very cruel.
Are they actually special edition? I didn't know they did other ones, but I didn't know the Ace ones were special edition. I was sent a copy. I have a copy here somewhere. a kind of damaged one, but they're really badly made. Those Ace ones, like they're really poorly made. I like the stained edges, but they're poorly made books.
Gotcha. So Steve is not a fan of the new.
Or they're out next year. Ah, okay. Oh, what did Steve say about? Is that the Ace?
Steve's not a fan of. He says that we need to improvise some dialogue, and it'd be even better.
Oh, the Rings. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
So
Messiah and Children are going to come out from Centipede Press, you're saying?
Yeah, they put out Dune, a really nice one. It's got some really nice artwork from what I've seen, but I think it's sold out like minutes after it was announced. I think it's out now. It was out last year, coinciding with the film. But the thing is, they were planning it for years apparently. And I forget what it was, $400 or some silly thing like that.
Gotcha.
And it sold out in seconds.
I'm collecting a little bit with Centipede Press. I'm doing the Fafford and Gray Mauser series, and I'm missing volume 3, and I can't find it anywhere. The other ones seem to pop up for sale all the time, but somehow there's a number 3 shortage. So it's been 2 years now, and I can't seem to locate a copy. But they sure are nice. I love those editions.
Golands have done reprinting Dune, or at least the first one. I don't know if they're continuing. They did a nice Dune hardcover. Like it looks nice, but it's a fraction of the price of the Ace, and just the same. Oh, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Oh, that's wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
All the Harfoots.
Yeah,
I don't understand why they're half-foots and not hobbits. I mean, aren't they hobbits? Are they a different species?
I think they're like a precursor to the hobbits. From what I can tell, not having read the appendices, like I said.
So it is the appendices for Lord of the Rings, not Silmarillion.
Correct.
Okay, right.
Now I have read the Silmarillion, and then there is some of that in there. I assume that some of the appendices match what's in the Silmarillion.
Are the appendices in the volumes of? Or are they separate?
I'm pretty sure they're in the Return of the King.
I think that's fair enough.
Let me grab
Jason,
mine.
Fair enough.
But Jason is saying we need to read the book to find out.
The funny thing with the accents, though, is you'll appreciate this, Shawn. Lenny Henry's in it.
Yeah.
And he plays the boss of the Hobbits or Harfoots or whatever. And it's so weird because he's putting on an Irish accent.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, lovely.
This looks a lot like yours.
Yeah, but it looks like a nicer material, maybe.
Yeah, it is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I saw this.
Is it Harper Collins?
Nope, Houghton Mifflin.
Oh, interesting, because it does look almost the same on the front, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I got there was a limited edition one, but it's got a die cut for the jacket where the I was going to say Eye of Horus. And that's not quite right. I think that's in the Twilight Zone here. Eye of Sauron.
I can't work out though if what's his name Lenny Henry is actually doing an Irish accent, because he sometimes falls into doing the comic Jamaican accent that he used to do as well. So I'm like, I'm not sure.
Well, I love Darby O'Gill and Little People with James Bond as, but I don't know if.
It's true, Steve. It makes them all a bit kind of leprechaunish, doesn't it? You know, they're after me, Lucky Charms. Sorry.
So the appendices are like 150 pages long. Yep. So I guess I don't know. I'm starting to get the feeling that we should read the book to find out.
Yeah.
It's so big, though.
So let's do it right now.
Right now, let's do it. Yes, just
for charity. For buying books for children. For buying books for children 5 to 8 who haven't got access to them. We're gonna read now Lord of the Rings nonstop.
Well, actually, you buy children books for me to read.
Yeah, but I think I've only got an hour left on the Stream Live freebie. Yeah, before we cut off. So
Well, actually, it says they won't cut you off, so we can continue for 8 hours.
There we go. Continue nonstop. All right, Steve. I'm going for it. Jason, Steve, let's go.
So, if anybody out there, okay, a new series. What first children's book that's age 5 to 8 should I read? Not The Hobbit, because I know that's for 4-year-olds. Actually, that was originally written.
40-year-olds.
4-year-olds, wasn't it? What was it? Tolkien wrote it for like it was meant for 4 or 5-year-olds. I think.
No, sorry. No, I haven't, Jason. Apologies. I really haven't. No, I don't think it was really 4-year-olds. I thought it was like 8-year-olds, maybe. But
possibly, yeah. I don't know. But no. What book 5 to 8-year-olds should I read first? Let's see if we get some
5 to 8-year-olds.
Yeah, 5 to 8-year-olds. Like classic stuff that you would like that somebody my age would have read at the time, I suppose. Rather than because that's not going to work any other way. Because
so you were 5 in what, 1971?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, so early 70s. Anything, I guess, that and before, I suppose. Just so I have read those, but not when I've actually read those, but I never read them as a kid.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, for me it was like Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
3 Investigators, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
The
Hardy Boys I read was in the late 70s after the TV series with Parker Stevenson, is it? And I forget who else.
There was a fantasy series by Lloyd Alexander.
Alice in Wonderland. I've read that. So yeah.
Yeah. The
Famous Five could be, yeah. That could be one because I've not read Famous Five.
Roald Dahl, Sean. You know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Roald Dahl, yeah.
Okay.
The Phantom Tollbooth is another one.
What's that sounds familiar. What's
The Phantom Tollbooth?
Yeah. That sounds
familiar. How do booktubers get around paralysis from choice in your reading?
Flip a coin.
Yes. Yeah. I have a 20-sided die. Yeah.
It's tough though, it really is.
But I hear that. Yeah. Endless list.
Thanks, Kevin. Puckapook's Hill.
Shawn Cassidy, that's it, yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, and Wrinkle in Time and Nancy Drew. Yeah.
Well, I've read some of Nancy Drew and I've read Wrinkle in Time. Yeah.
I like Steve's answer here. The problem is that Steve recommends 57 books daily. So
yeah,
that's the hardest thing.
So yeah, well, so far the Famous Five are definite ones that I haven't read. So that's at the top of the list now. I think of anything.
I think the Dark is Rising.
Yeah,
the Chronicles of Narnia for sure. Yeah,
I've read those, but later. That's the thing.
The Dark is Rising books. Who wrote them?
Philip Pullman.
No. It's before him. It's when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Is it Susan Cooper, Susan Hill? Dark.
Don't know those.
You would like them, I think, Sean. Rising books, Oversea and Understone, that kind of thing. First one is Oversea Understone, and it's 1965. And Susan Cooper, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know them. You'll have to give me the title. I remember the Famous Five ones.
What about Diana Wynne Jones? I can't remember if those were published though. Were those in the 70s?
Never heard of her.
So Howl's Moving Castle. They're great films. Howl's Moving Castle is a great movie. Trying to think of some of her others, but I don't know their publication date. I don't recall running into them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem anybody in the comments knows Dark is Rising. Unfortunately, that's a shame. Aaron Hook, Professor Barnstorm books.
Don't know those, so that's a possibility.
Yeah. Pierre by Herman Melville. Noddy.
I'm not sure what
This
that's.
is a good list of gifts for Christmas too for the youngsters in your lives.
What I'm not sure what that's referring to, Alexis. I've lost the thread there, I think, which isn't surprising, but for me these days.
Tintin,
yeah, brilliant. Oh, okay, good. Tintin was great.
Yeah.
I read Dark and yeah. I think it's wonderful. Highway Cavalier, it's great. Yeah, Asterix and Obelix, Lucky Luke is another one.
Yeah, I've read. I don't know Obelisk. I know Asterix, and
Obelix is his friend.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah. I remember that now. Yeah.
Heath Robinson illustrations, brilliant.
Norman Hunter. Okay. You have to. I don't have anything. I'm not writing it down. Email that to me, Aaron, if you don't mind.
Cool.
Yeah, actually, I quite fancy reading The Dark is Rising again. I'm trying to remember. I mean, it's 5 books, and they're not small books. The first one's almost 800 pages.
And are they sort of 5 to 8 year old sort of?
Well, I mean, Highway Cavalier read it when he was 9. I read it when I was 8, 9, 10, like through those years, because I didn't read all of them back to back. So yeah.
Did you know that Steve is not only here commenting, but he's posting videos at the same time?
He's amazing. How does he do it?
This is incredible.
Multitasking.
See, I just read The Prestige by Christopher Priest. So I'm suspecting now that Steve is more than one person.
No, Steve. I read Scooby-Doo. I did read some Archie comics, and I probably read those from 10 or 12 maybe, and that's about it. That's the comics, and occasionally Superman, but nah. School is Hell by Matt Groening.
Oh my gosh.
And he's talking to Jason on Vox.
This is amazing. Yeah.
How does he do it?
Oh, too funny. Good deal.
Well, I don't know. We're over the 2-hour mark. So how's everybody feeling?
Well, I sure enjoyed myself, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks very, very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, please. Very happy.
Maybe I'll read. I'll read some of the stuff you recommended there, and it'd be nice to then.
Sounds good. Well, so. Whatever you do, avoid.
I was going to read while it was on. And I thought that's fine. I can take a nap.
Oh, dear.
So we're going for the Stroker Award, said Steve. Oh shoot, Cipollino by cool.
Oh Jesus,
that's awesome.
All right, so everybody, thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Scott for joining us. And we will see you all next on Wednesday, actually, and it will be probably over. You'll get an announcement, but it'll probably be on Shawn D. Standfast's channel.
My hours should recycle then. That's what it says. Yeah. So I'm holding them to their word.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, we could stay just for you, Jason.
Oh, shoot.
Look, if anyone wants to come on any of these shows, you only have to send a message. We can add you. We can be delighted. There's open invitations. So.
Oh, I do want to say, because it is coming up, it's not that long away, people can get the books, is the hard science fiction, the Hal for the Holidays. That's Brandy at the Book Eclectic, and I'm saying, I'm looking forward to it, and I think you are.
Yep, I'm in. So. Yep. For sure, for sure. Thanks, Alexis.
So you don't like us when we're just together then? Thanks.
Love it.
I think, Steve, you need to work out how to get some guests on your channel. You know, you owe some return visits for people, perhaps. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Cool.
Take care.
Take care, all.
Bye.
Bye.